Hi, guys. Booker with another Zoom interview, which typically I say Zoom sucks. But, when you get multiple artists to talk about their song and their music, Zoom all of a sudden becomes a cool thing. So joining us is Mark, B Rock, J Patt, the Knox, and what is Foster the People. How you guys doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Very good. Very good.
Thanks for having us.
Let's start with your relationship. How you guys know each other. Obviously, you did Ride or Die back in 17, 18, whatever year that was. I've lost a year because of this pandemic. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Mark, how did you know these guys? Where'd it come from?
I was a fan of just musically, but then a friend of mine, we have a mutual friend, and I remember I think there was like 1 year where you guys all went and had some crazy New Year's Eve thing in like Nicaragua or something on a beach, and my friend was there, and he came back and he was like, "Dude, just had the best time hanging out with the Knox and a few of our other friends," and he's like, "I think you should make some music with them." And I was like, "Well, they're dope. That'd be cool. Like, introduce us." And he did, and we made Ride or Die, and it was just kind of like, and it just felt good, and so yeah, we just that's how it started, and now we're
besties.
Yeah, that was Kenny who actually directed the Ride or Die video too, and we met him in Nicaragua, and then we had this idea, and we were like, man, this would be perfect for Foster the People, and then Kenny sent it, and like I remember like the same day we sent it, I think Mark got back, and Kenny was like, he's down. I was like, what? Hell yeah.
Yeah, because we were fans too. We started out as fans too, so it was like a big deal for us.
Yeah, and then I flew to LA. I think J Patt had like his mom's birthday or something, so he couldn't make it to LA. But I like was on a plane, like I feel like it was like the next week or some shit. And then and we were just in town for a day. We made Ride or Die.
So you guys really don't know each other, but you just have a mutual respect for the music and what you all do. And it just comes together that quickly. So when you meet for the first time face to face, what's the vibe? How do you guys vibe it out? How do you figure out what you're going to do? Like, who's the quarterback in this mess?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't even know. I think when we met Mark, I mean, first I met him, and then J Patt met him, I think probably once we were like, I don't know if it was shooting the video.
I think I met Mark at the video shoot.
Yeah, because I was just like I said, like I think Mark was like in between running around for shows and finishing whatever, if it was finishing the album or something, because they had that other song going at the time. And then I was just in the studio with Mark, and it was actually the first night. It was a funny introduction because I think that was the night that Mark's car got broken into in LA.
Oh yeah.
During Ride or Die, we had 2 days of like pretty intense, right? Because we kind of hit the ground running. Like we got in the studio, like, yo, what up, man? So glad you're doing this. I think we all kind of we only had a couple of days, so we were like, let's get it going. And then right after we finished the song, it was like all these good vibes, and everyone's like, man, this is awesome. The song's great. This is what a great. And then all of a sudden, Mark gets a car like, hey, is this your license plate number? Like your car's been broken into.
I was like, yeah, this is Officer Johnson. Can you please come outside? And I just remember it's like, and we were a few beers in, like working on the song, and I remember thinking like, what's going on right now? And I like walk outside and like just kind of like a piece of gum in my mouth because we're like walking over to my car, and it's just like my instinct. It's like the high schooler in me. Yeah. Like was like just coming out. It's just like I gotta talk to the cops. Like had like 6 beers, like finishing the song.
Well, and then at least you couldn't drive. There you go.
Yeah.
So let's I want to do kind of the juxtaposition of the both, because look, when you're new, it's almost like dating. You know what I mean? Like, who's in charge? Who's going to say, we're kind of feeling each other out in what we do. Like, Mark, can you say, oh, I don't really like that without stepping on their toes? Like, how does that play?
So that's something that takes a long time to learn how to do that properly. And I learned that just collaborating in general. It takes time to learn how to speak that language without offending someone, because artists are sensitive. And when you're meeting somebody for the first time, there's pressure. There's pressure on both of you to deliver. And look, everybody wants the other person to, you're there to make something great. Like you want to make, you both want the same thing. But how you get there, you have to figure it out. And so when, you know, with the Knox, it's always like, that was, I think one of the things was like right away, we kind of settled into this common language where it's like, okay, these guys are cool. Like they're super nice. They're super talented. We like the same kinds of music, and they're not precious. Like, and I think for me, when I was showing up, you know, when I would show up to work with whether it was Ride or Die or All About You, like they had a ton of starts for songs that they would play through. So I'd be like, all right, what are you guys working on? And be like, yo, check this out. And they could cycle through different things and be like, yo, that's dope. Oh, that's dope. Oh, that's dope. Like mark that. Like if it's like firing, if I'm getting like inspired by something, and that was how All About You came about. I think I listened through like over 20 different starts, and that was an outlier. All About You is an outlier because it had that 90s breakbeat on it. And like at the time I was like, nobody's doing this right now. I'm like, that's really fresh. And we started kind of talking about 90s like Beck and Fatboy Slim and like stuff that we kind of grew up on when we were younger. And that's kind of how that song started. It was like, you know what, like let's chase that. Let's not do anything that's like what's on the radio right now or what people are doing right now. Like let's go back to this 90s breakbeat thing just because it's fresh. That like you know, what's that movie, like Train Spotting vibes. And like let's chase that.
Some Born Slippies, that kind of sound. That is such totally. That is the like most underrated kick-ass soundtrack of literally all time. I love 100%. That soundtrack. So now you know there's some time between the two songs. Are you guys keeping together, or did you just like mark some time in the calendar and say, hey, let's get together and listen to these songs? Are you emailing back and forth? Like how did this, you know, particular when you did All About You, how did it come together when you said, hey, let's do this?
This one was super organic. You know, like I said, Ride or Die was kind of like set up through his friend, and like we had a kind of a thing already in mind that we were like, this would be great with Foster. But this one, and then since then, obviously, since the success of Ride or Die, we ended up hanging out all together a lot more, whether it's a video shoot, we played late night, we did a couple radio shows and stuff. So we like kind of started to bro down more. And then Mark, I think, was in the city. I don't know if I think he was with his lady or just visiting for something. I think he had a couple of days off and was like, hey, I'm in town. If you guys are in the studio, I'd love to pop by. And we just happened to be around that week. And yeah, like he said, he just came by and there was no agenda. It wasn't, I don't think we even like, in the back of my head, I was like, we're probably just going to like hang out and like play some music and jam. Like, I didn't think we were really going to maybe like write a song, you know? And he actually just came by and we wrote a different song, which we never ended up finishing, which is a great idea. We got to get back to that eventually. But and then what Mark said, like the All About You beat was kind of actually just a beat that we made together. Like I had an idea start, and then Mark like played a bass line and added a chord change and stuff. And then that kind of took the back burner. And then that one later on ended up becoming All About You. So it's like, it's always those moments, like the stuff that happens really organic and naturally, I feel that like kind of produce the best things. Like even Ride or Die, even though it was a little bit more like planned, it still felt very organic. The fact that I met this guy on a beach in Nicaragua who happened to be friends with Mark, and then I happened to have this song sitting that would be great with Foster the People. You know what I mean? It was never like our A&R called his A&R and we had a meeting about it and like whatever. It's like and that Mark was just in Soho and we had our studio and he popped by and we like jammed out for 2 days and all of a sudden we had a great song. That always ends up being the best. Like it's never the ones that are like your publisher set you up with this songwriter who like has 2 cuts on the Britney Spears album and think you should have a hit with it. You know, it never works that way. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many pop stars I've interviewed when I say, you know, have you met so-and-so who laid the, you know, the rap on the track? And they're like, no, they just emailed it to me. And I'm like, well, that's why there's no heart. And that's why now watching the three of you two, I'm like, now I get this song. Like you three together, you made something so special and All About You. And I really think this song is going to hit critical mass at some point, to the point where I was at TJ. I swear to Christ, this is true. I was at TJ Maxx last week. Okay. And I'm walking through and the beginning of it comes on. And if you start to hear the beginning of your head, you can kind of see yourself shopping, right? Like you hear the so I'm listening to this. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, but this totally works. But hearing it in a setting that's not a radio station, somewhere where you're not, it sounds like such a big song. Like this thing feels real big to me. So do all three of you kind of look at each other and go, man, we got this one. This is a good one.
Actually, J Patt kind of called it.
I
like
did.
When we first made
Yeah?
it.
I just like had a weird feeling about it, kind of like in the same way that you just said. It just like
Mhm.
felt like one of those songs that like you've heard forever, kind of, like songs like how do I know this song? Like there's so many songs like there that just like get replayed like for years and years and years, and they're kind of like timeless like that. And I was listening to it in like on my headphones, like walking to the bodega or something, and I was like, this feels like that song.
And that's why
I think we got one, dude.
Yeah, you do. You really do.
and that was the big sign for me, because like Mark said, like I think Mark and I grew up on a lot more of the kind of weird Britpop stuff, and J Patt was kind of more on the gospel, like R&B side of stuff. So J Patt doesn't have all those same influences when it comes to some of that stuff. So when J Patt was like, yeah, so we're putting him on, but that's when J Patt was like, yo, this sounds like a song I know before. I'm like, oh, that's a good sign, because to me, I was like, it sounded
like one of those rock songs that I don't know, but I know.
Right.
Yeah, but I was
like Beck.
Yeah, no, like literally like Beck. I was like, I don't know this song, like I've heard it for my whole life.
And I was like, I just like it because I'm a geek, and I like this is so nostalgic for me, and I love that genre of music, and I like grew up on it, and like maybe I like it especially more because of that. But the fact that J Patt was kind of unbiased opinion too after we made it, I was like, hell yeah, that's a good sign.
Mark, so obviously you got your own band and your own thing. Is it hard to sort of direct? Do you not direct? You say these guys are specialists at doing this, and I'm going to get out of the way, and you just provide the lyrics. Like, is there a collaboration in lyrics and such? Like, how do you guys decide on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question. What I think we do really well is that, we all have different strengths, and we all know how to complement each other without stepping on each other, and kind of let each person do their thing. And it's not always the case. Like sometimes, I've been, in sessions before with people where I've walked in to write a song with somebody, but we play the same instruments, we have the same strengths, and then it's like, who's driving this ship? Like, because music, sometimes it's like you need somebody to be driving, at least at that moment in time. Like you kind of let somebody lead. It's very autonomous, because if there's not a singular vision, then you're not going to write something that has personality. It's going to be this kind of, in my experience, unless you're like a 4-piece rock band, and you guys are all jamming together, and it's like a live thing. If it's something that you want to like capture your attention and stick in your head, it's like, yeah, you have to be like really, intentional with the melody and the lyric and what you want to say at that moment in time. And so you kind of pass the ball around. It's like, all right, cool. I'm on one right now. I'm going to do this like bass line thing. I'm going to pass it off to J Patt. He's going to do some keys, some synth thing, and he's going to pass it off to Ben, and he's going to do some like rhythmic thing or some production thing. And so it's just kind of like, that's,
it feels like a band. It feels like you guys, like I said, it's not manufactured at all. Typically only bands or groups or people that really know one another. And maybe it's the backstory of Ride or Die and the relationship that you three have formed, but I could talk about it forever. I absolutely love it.
Thank you so much.
Is.
That means a lot.
Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah.
It is.
And it does feel like a band, with when we make music together, because we do weird. It's weird. It's not what's being played on the radio. Like that's what happens.
Well, it is now.
Artists,
It is now, dude.
It is now.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I really got a feeling that this one's going to take off. This was, we're alternative, whatever. We were just having this conversation before you guys got on, like, what the fuck is alternative even mean? I don't even know. I dice things up with, good, the moment, and shit. You know what I mean? And this is in the very good pile. Oh, and we all know what the shit is. What they're doing now, I don't get this. They're all trying to be like Bowling for Soup or something. I don't know what the fuck that music is now. It's awful. It's awful. It's terrible. It is. It fucking is. But when you hear this, immediately, you're like, fuck, man, this is quality. So like I said, I could talk about this all day. You guys are fantastic together. So congratulations. I wanted to talk about we mentioned Beck a moment ago. Let's talk about Devil's Haircut. Why Devil's Haircut? Who came in and said this weird ass song needs to be tackled by us three? Go. Who?
That was Mark, I think. Because originally I said Loser, and then all of a sudden we're like, man, Loser's a hard one because it's such a like a rap song. Like you kind of forget that he's like fully rapping the whole time. And like as much as I think Mark can rap, it's like it's hard to like
time out. You actually think Mark can rap?
Yeah, sure, he's got bars.
Okay.
It's hard to touch that like Beck vocal on that other one.
It is hard to touch that.
Devil's Haircut was easier.
Beck's cadence and his vocal tonality that it's like, I don't know if I should go there. That's
in the time of chimpanzees, I was a monkey. It's like
it's so good.
Yeah.
Devil's Haircut was just
but
fun
I did really want to say, something on the termites choking on the splinters. Like that line. I think that's in Loser. I forget what he says about the termites choking. That's such a good line. That's such a good line.
When all three of you look,
Devil's Haircut. It just.
Well, I was gonna say when you listen to Devil's Haircut, it's so weird. I was with a musician buddy of mine the other day, and we were talking about Beck. Like he does some genius things, and then we really started to talk about Beck, and we brought up Devil's Haircut, and we really started like listening to the song, and we're like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like the song makes no sense. So what sense do you guys make out of that song? Like what does it mean to you when you're making it? Is it just fun? Like you're having a party cover band thing? Like what's your attitude when you're trying to tackle this one?
It was fun to like work on the new kind of music that I never really like worked on before. So it was like a learning experience, and like we were talking about like who takes the lead in certain situations. Like I definitely took a back seat because I'm not the rock guy. So but Ben and Mark, they've been holding my hand through the process.
Yeah, and that one to me, it's like the Dust Brothers. The production on that album is like so incredible and like so interesting and weird. And I feel like it's kind of no one's doing that kind of production in like pop mainstream music now, where it's like samples and all of a sudden there's a weird chord change where it goes minor like out of nowhere and like weird, it's just such a weird fucking, like what you said, it's a weird song. The lyrics are like so weird and it just felt cool. And I feel like it's time to bring that vibe back. I just think it's so exciting, like to hear that. Even I'm hearing more and more stuff now that's like with break beats and kind of stuff like that. And I'm hoping that generation kind of starts getting rehashed a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, without Beck, there is no Foster the People. Like he like the way that I look at it, of just like kind of the succession of an alternative artist that opened up radio and pushed the boundaries. Like, and I remember buying Odelay. I listened to that record so many. I wore that record out when that came out. I was like probably 12 years old or whatever. So it's just kind of a hat tip too. It's cool to like give props.
You guys need a name. I was just thinking, like, if you put the two names together, it's like the knockoffs. If you did Foster backwards, there's something there. I don't know. I'm still working on it. Knockoffs, Foster. I don't fucking know.
Foster the Knocks.
Foster the knock the Fosters. I don't fucking know. Listen, you guys are great. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Obviously, you can tell I'm a big fan, and I expect a lot from this song, and I hope it takes off like I think it's going to. It's really really killer work, guys. It's really killer, and thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Okay.
Thanks for having us, dude.
Yeah.
Let me get